You're watching another supercharged masterclass with Jordan Samuel Fleming. Your opportunity to learn the ins and outs of Podio design and development from one of the top Podio partners in the world.
Hey everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Supercharged. I'm your host Jordan Samuel Fleming, here to talk all about the power of workflow and automation when your business is powered by Podio. Well, today's episode features a Podio partner, Martin Evans. Martin is based in the UK. You've got a lot of clients in the US though, particularly around the real estate industry. And it's my first time getting a chance to talk to Martin. And it was really fun to get to know him, get to understand how he sort of got into Podio, talk a bit about how he's then kind of moved on into being more of a Podio consultant and now does that full time, which is a fantastic story. I always love to hear from newer Podio partners about how they're getting into it, what they're working on, how they see kind of Podio, where it's going and how they're integrating it in their life as a business. And that's, one of the really fun things about this podcast. Martin's got a great story. He's got a, real sort of up and coming kind of journey in Podio, which I love. And he really is doing a great job. It's fantastic to see him active on the Citrix PWA and ProcFu workspace. It's fantastic to see him working with people and just a really fun story. And I'm hopefully going to be meeting Martin in the flesh in our upcoming Podio partner meetup, which we do in Europe. We used to do in Europe every year, and then COVID hit us, but we're back to that. So in September of 2022, which will date this podcast if you're listening to this in 2023, but we will be meeting up as a group of Podio partners, and I'm going to really look forward to meeting Martin there. So let's dive right into the podcast. Listen, Martin, first time on the podcast, why don't you tell me just a little bit about sort of how you got into Podio, and more importantly then, how you transitioned or decided to transition into working with other people on their Podio and becoming a Podio partner.
Yeah, thanks, Jordan. Thanks for having me. I originally got started because I started working for a landlord, basically, that had properties, and he wanted to systemize because they were all over the place, and he wanted some kind of feature where he had everything in one place. So we were looking at different options, and a lot of people had mentioned Podio. So he invested in the UK, but was also a member of a US wholesaling group, and they were using Podio as well. So that's how he kind of got to know Podio. So I've always kind of been interested in learning new things, and I thought, okay, this sounds like quite a cool challenge. So I got started using Podio, and it was really difficult at first.
You can say it, it's okay.
Yeah, there's quite a large learning curve to it. So I guess it took me maybe 4 hours to do the basic things and figure everything out and that type of thing. But the whole time, like, I'd end up staying up till about 6 o'clock in the morning sometimes, because I was like, no, before I'm going to bed, I'm getting this finished.
Oh, that's a dangerous game to play. All right.
Yeah. So there was a lot of trial and error, and also a lot of help from the guys in the forum. So I definitely think without, the likes of Damien, Ruggieri, Rainer,
everybody's favorite Rainer.
Yeah. I mean, posting questions in the forum right when I was starting was so useful for me, because I don't.
Resource.
And I don't have any coding background, so I ended up creating kind of a cheat sheet for myself where I'd be copy and pasting in the code and then explaining what it does at the top. So that was quite helpful when I was first starting. And definitely the forum was really helpful. I don't think I would have been able to figure it out myself without the help of the forum, because there isn't actually that much documentation on how to do these things, I don't think. So yeah, the forum
you should have seen what it was like when it first when Globiflow first launched, and it was called Podio Flow at that point. Andreas called it Podio Flow, but then Citrix said no. Weirdly, then they bought Globiflow and didn't bother just using Podio Flow as the name, which makes so much more sense. But yeah, when it first launched, there was really no documentation, and it didn't have things like if and end blocks, so you couldn't do nested sort of processes. You had to daisy chain one's flows together because you didn't have that kind of capability, and you were limited. When you first, I was telling this to some partners. We had a partner group podcast we recorded the other day, and because I was, aside from Seth, I'm one of the older of the partners. So back then, the plan you bought for Globiflow limited not only how many flows, how many actions per month, but how many flows you were allowed to have as well, which meant that suddenly you had to make decisions like, do I want to do this flow that simply adds a date field? Do I want to take up the valuable, 1/100th of my flow allocations just for that? So it was even worse back in the day, man. You're somewhat blessed. So tell me, you were working. I mean, now it makes sense when you said property management is not something that Podio's really got a huge footprint in, but wholesaling, the massive. So you were working for that company, and then you decided to start building Podio for other people, and do all that. How did that kind of transition go from being your own, building kind of for one company, one purpose, to having to understand other people's processes and work around how they want to work? What was that transition like for you?
So, I mean, I was loving Podio. Like I at the time I was thinking, if I could just drop everything and just do Podio full time, that would be amazing. So I started advertising my services, and I was surprised like how quickly people started reaching out to me. The first client I ever had, he reached out to me, and I thought, that seems pretty simple. So I was like, yeah, $50, cool, let's do it. And until this day, it's still the hardest request I've ever had.
$50.
And yeah, it probably took me about 8 hours plus of figuring it out. And then in the end, I still couldn't do it, and I had to reach out to one of the other Podio partners to do it for me. So that it was kind of a rocky start at the beginning. But since then, it's been going great. And I think what helped me a lot is, so I'm not kind of a shy person, and I think I'm quite good at understanding what people want. So the kind of, process of speaking to the client and understanding their project, and that I enjoy that, and I really enjoy the building out side of things as well. So at the moment, it's a lot of wholesale that I'm doing. I guess a lot of people start with working with wholesalers, but I've done a few other projects with UK-based architects. I guess that's the biggest system I've built. It was an architect that was just using Excel sheets and wanted to change from their Excel sheets, and they posted on Facebook they were looking for some kind of CRM, and I said, I can give you a tour of Podio if you like. And we ended up working together, and yeah, I've built quite a big system for them, integrated smartphone as well, of course, and they're loving it. So yeah, and now I'm kind of at the point where I have a lot of people coming to me, but it's at that building point, which I would love to ask you, like how you went from, being a one-man band to kind of getting other people, like how you went about that process.
Hey, are you using Podio to manage your real estate investment business? Wait! Click the link to find out why thousands of real estate investment professionals are using Podio Plus smartphone to make more calls, send more text, and close more deals. Click the link.
Well, I mean, I've had various businesses for the past 17 years now or so ish. I've never really been employed. I never really did that. I mean, the truth of the matter is that there's never a right time to start employing people. There's never a right time because it's all, sooner or later, the moment you employ someone, your cash flow is going to suffer. And you're going to just be like, oh shit, I got to pay these people. And I don't have any more money. I mean, I just, probably exactly what you've been doing. You just start to, you do one thing and it leads to another and it leads to another and you get enough momentum that I found there was a tipping point where, because you have to do sales, but you got to do work. And so like the first step I did was I was drowning a little, quite honestly. This is a long time ago now, and because I was drowning with I had to do sales to get the new projects coming in, but I also had to do the building bit. And so what I ended up doing was I ended up breaking my day up into 2 and 3, my week. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I did sales only. I dedicated it. And Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, I did work only. And I would not take meetings on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. If someone wanted to meet me and even a new client, no, Tuesdays or Thursdays. Can't meet this week, we'll do it next week. But I was really disciplined about that because I needed to balance that. And then I finally got to the point where I was like, okay, now I need someone to just be able to execute execute these things. The challenge you'll have as you start to build that in Podio is finding good people who know how to build Podio is really hard. It's really hard to find good people. We've been lucky with our team in Game Changers. But finding, you end up having to either find just really good people and teach them, or be really lucky and find someone who knows Podio.
Yeah.
The other thing is move as quickly as you can to some sort of retained model is my advice. I know Pete Cuff from Future Solutions may argue with me on this one. But there's nothing that beats retained recurring revenue in order to build up a business and have cash flow that supports bringing new people on. And so, for instance, we have support contracts that range from $299 a month to $2,500 a month, right? And they're monthly, and each one of those has a certain amount of hours dedicated to it, a certain SLA, response time, prioritization, et cetera. The more you pay, obviously, the more, the more you get and the more crucial the things are. But those sorts of arrangements mean that you can lay in a foundational base of revenue off of in a consistent manner, which then makes the projects where you're maybe doing okay, I'll build you this for X. It makes those more like the cream on top because your core revenue is on repetitive. The other little bit of advice I'd have about learn from my mistakes, which is when you scope a project, make sure you are scoping ranges and not fixed price, because or if you can do fixed price, which is fine, make sure you are super clear in your scope, because scope creep is the first thing that'll destroy your time and profitability, because you didn't fully clarify with the client, so they think you're going to do X, Y, and Z, and you think you're going to do X, and then you end up doing Y and Z for free, and that takes you 15 hours. So
projects always go longer than you expect. There's always an issue that crops up, I found, definitely.
Well, the other thing that we do If someone, like very few of our clients will go straight to a support contract, they usually want to try us first and make sure they're happy with how we work and the relationship and all that. So what we do is we've got these hour packages where people can buy 10 up to 100 hours in they can buy a chunk of 10 hours, 50 hours, 100 hours, whatever. And that's quite a good way of doing it as well, because then you're essentially saying, okay, you've got 10 hours to play with, rather than I'm going to build you this thing. Because once you do the building this thing, you've got to deliver that thing. And if you've quoted 10 hours and it takes you 30, and that's, those are models that can be very dangerous if you're trying to scale up to the point where you have staff. So, so tell me then, you obviously, you love Podio clearly, and you're successfully becoming a Podio partner. Now, when you mentioned obviously working with a smartphone, that's great from my perspective. But what other kind of integrations have you been using? Do you use ProcFu? Have you been learning that? Have you been doing more advanced work? What have you been kind of honing your skills on?
Yeah, so I've only recently, I guess, in the past 4 to 6 months, started getting into ProcFu. I didn't really get it at first, but of course, being built by Andreas, it's amazing. Now, I think my favorite feature of ProcFu is definitely, the fact that you can build these portals, I guess I call it, where people can log on, see stuff that's in Podio, interact with it, create new items, but without actually being in Podio. Yeah. This is when people come to me and say, "Oh, I want it split in. I want my wholesale system split, cold callers, acquisitions." That I hate splitting workspaces. That I never recommend it. ProcFu, right. I say, ProcFu, we can do this, and then we don't need to split it.
That's perfect. That's great. I mean, 100% agree with you, mate. Like that is the multi-workspace. I only want each agent to see their own stuff and not everybody else's stuff. So let's build out a blah, blah, blah. Oh God, it just opens up a whole world of pain that is simply not worth it. And you're spot on with the mini app, the kind of the functionalities available within the mini app are, you can roll them out surprisingly quick, and they just give that. They also are really good from a mobile experience point of view, because the Podio mobile app sucks. We all it's fine for some things, but it's not great for working in. And mini apps can give you like a dedicated task list or I've got an email mini app that I use my inbox for. So if I want to send a new email, I just boom, 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 bam. And it's quick and easy on the mobile, which everything else is not easy on. So, but you're spot on with that. The mini app is fantastic. And so do are you inside the ProcFu users workspace? Are you using that as a source of knowledge as well then?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely followed the forum where people post the questions, because even if it's not something I need currently, I mean, I've done it also with the Globiflow. So following the forum, and if someone posts a question, like just following what other people answer, because I mean, usually with ProcFu, I have no idea what the answer would be. So then Andreas comes back, and I'm like, yeah, I can definitely use that in the future. So the forums are really useful. And yeah, ProcFu, smartphone. I've also started integrating things like Zero. I really love integrating Zero.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's a nice integration just to pull everything into Podio.
God, I found Zero's API is a pig compared to like QuickBooks Online. QBO's API, you can spin it on a dime. Zero's causes nothing but pain comparatively, but fantastic. Because are you based in the UK then?
Yeah.
Where are you based?
So Midlands, near Manchester.
Near Manchester. Okay. I used to live in Scotland. I lived in Scotland for 16 years. So I I know the UK well. Yeah, Zero's probably got its biggest footprint.
Okay, hands up who's using Podio for real estate and they don't want more leads. Nobody. You want more leads closed? Well, check out Smartphone for Podio, the only phone system fully built for Citrix Podio. With an fully integrated power dialer and our amazing mobile apps, it means wherever you are, you can make more calls, log to Podio, send more texts, log to Podio, and close more deals, all logged to your Podio CRM. Click the link. Check it out.
I think in Australia and the UK, because you never see Zero in the US comparatively. It's always QuickBooks Online, QuickBooks Online. Interesting. So how have you found, just out of curiosity, have you found, are you finding most of your customers via, so if you're doing a lot of wholesaling work, you're working in the US with people from the US, are you are you generating, or are you trying to generate local sales as well? Or are you sort of focusing on real estate, or like, have you decided, are you thinking about kind of attacking certain types of work in Podio, or do you like to do that kind of multi-broad approach? Just out of curiosity.
I'm quite open to anything at the moment, just because I'm always happier when it's non-wholesale, because wholesale I do all the time. But if someone reaches out about a different project, I'm like, oh, that sounds quite interesting. So yeah, and I'm hoping also to start making YouTube videos as well. Like, I want to do some more tutorials about just like basic parts of Podio and how people can level up their Podio themselves. So I'm hoping that that'll bring in a more diverse range of clients. It's actually, everyone I've worked with has been from the US, except that one UK architect firm and a Finnish architect firm as well, funny enough. So I think Podio's just bigger in the US. I don't think a lot of the UK people use it.
No, it exists,
unfortunately.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the one thing is that Podio has had a disproportionate presence in the real estate investing community, whether you're particular wholesaling, but when Investor Fuse first launched with Investor Fuse did their first Podios. They were the first ones to really kind of create a replicable Podio-based real estate CRM that was designed at we're gonna sell workspaces, right? And we're gonna do that. They were the first ones to do that, and they really got a lot of traction in that community. And so there's a really large community within that real estate environment in Podio. Outside of that, there aren't as many niche sectors that know Podio. Like, real estate is really the largest.
I think it's a shame, because I think Podio, for both how much money you pay and the functionality, the customization, is second to none. I think it's amazing. But I think a lot of people are put off by Podio, but because of they go for more of the pretty CRMs out there that look a bit better, but are way less customizable. And I think that's a real shame, because if they gave Podio a chance, they'd realize that they could do 10 times, 20 times more than they could do with the other CRMs that are out there.
Yeah, the biggest, I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think you're spot on there. I mean, there's still nothing that beats the flexibility that you can do with Podio. And because GlobiFlow is such a powerful tool, forget even ProcFu, but GlobiFlow, there's nothing that has that customizable workflow element, which you can do even inside of GlobiFlow. You can do almost anything. I mean, take it to ProcFu, you can do anything, but even just inside GlobiFlow, you can do almost anything. And there's nothing out there there's nothing that does that. It's just that I always say there's a 3-month learning curve with Podio. There's a learning curve of that user interface and the app structure and clicking around. And people often they don't really like, to begin with, the fact that they got to click multiple, they got to go from app to app to app to app type thing. But once you get into that flow, you realize it doesn't matter, and actually the benefits far outweigh the negatives. But it takes I think it takes 3 months, and a lot of people don't give it that. So
Yeah. I mean, it's also easy to link up different apps with, just a URL type thing takes you directly to the related offers item or something like that. So I think it's great. I think, people just need to give it a little more time usually.
yeah, but I would agree with you. But even something like that is not something that would be intuitive to you out of the box. Like putting a markdown table of related items that you can, or having a calculation link that goes to a specific item, or however you want to do it. Those aren't things that out of the box Podio seems like it can do, or that you'd want to do. And that's the problem, is that there needs to be a certain level of Podio before it really starts to kick in. And you're like, oh my God, this thing's amazing. And I don't think a lot of people get that out of the box.
Are you using Podio with CallRail? There's a better way. Click the link, find out why hundreds of businesses have moved over to using smartphone, the only phone system built for Podio. Make more calls, send more texts, and close more deals. Click the link.
So
I like what you always say, that you can set your watch quarterly that someone's going to complain about something in Podio. But yeah, I mean, you wouldn't find the functionality elsewhere.
Well, and to be fair to them, and we said this in the Podio partner podcast, which is recorded, I've seen more activity inside of the Podio developments, like Citrix ecosystem, over the last year than I've seen for the previous 7 years.
Those the calculation fields have definitely speeded up so much.
Yeah, they are certainly. There is an energy and a drive. Even the new UI, whether you like it or not, I've grown to like it in a way that I wasn't expecting. Every once in a while I have to go back to the old UI, and I'm like, whoa, that looks, that looks ancient. And I've grown to like the new UI, and there is sort of there is just a bit of energy about Podio now, and I hope it continues. I really do. So tell me, as we're winding up the podcast, where, if people are, obviously not just wholesalers, but if people are looking for a Podio partner to get in contact, where are they going to find you? How do you usually work on up your engagements with people? Let us know, and I'll make sure I post it in the podcast information as well. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, my website's in the process of being built. So, at the time of the recording, there is no website, but people can reach out using Martin at orata.io, ORATA, and that's pretty much it at the moment. There will be videos on YouTube in the coming months, so look out for those. I'm sure if you're typing in Podio, I aim to be the first person that comes up. So but at the moment, just email.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'll make sure that I put your email, martin@orata.io, into the podcast description and on the website page. I do encourage everyone drop Martin a line. Obviously, you've heard of his experience. You've heard what he can do. And he's got proficiency in all this, not only in Podio, but he's been getting it. Mini apps is a great one. If you don't know mini apps, go look at it, and then drop Martin a line as well. Martin, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to finally meet you. Sorry, I think we've rearranged this a couple of times because of my traveling and then for other reasons as well. But absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast and inside of the Podio partner ecosystem. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jordan.
You've been listening to another awesome episode of Supercharged with Jordan Samuel Fleming. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel to be notified of new podcast episodes, Podio masterclasses, and in-depth Podio extension reviews. If you've enjoyed this podcast, please give us a review on your podcast player to help support the show.